afternoon and good evening, wherever you are. So, welcome to our ASB MBA session. Don't just study, take action with learning. I'm Stephanie Wong, Director of Admissions. Together with me, I have my team, Hamid and David, and also Mai and Ralph to join us. And we are very excited as well to have our Director of Action Learning, Sangeeta, and our alumni and students, Asma, Letitia, Doris, and also Eric to join us this evening. So what we are going to do, first of all, I'm going to give a quick introduction of our school and our program. Then I will pass the time to Sangeeta to talk a little bit more about the action learning experiences. And then we will have the panel to discuss about their personalized experience throughout the action learning journey. All right, so we see that there are lots of people joining in already. So I'm going to kickstart with a quick intro and let's see who we are and what we are doing as a school in Malaysia. So ASB, our school. Some of you, I know that in the audience, you have already participated in our previous events before. Some of you have even applied to our program, but some of you, you don't have any ideas. So I will just have a quick intro to you. First, our school. Some of you know that Asia School of Business. And we established our school in 2015 by Central Bank of Malaysia and Bank Negara in collaborations with MIT Sloan School of Management. So our vision is very clear. We want to be the global learning and knowledge center that brings together the Western rigorous education from the West together with our Asia expertise and insights so that we will be able to nurture responsible and also transformative leaders in the emerging world. Why is it important? Because when we developed the schools, we had a vision. We have been sending all our executives, the talents to other parts of the world to receive the quality education. We asked the question, why don't we just bring the quality education to us? Now, at that time, we definitely have considered many different prestigious schools. And at the end, we decided to go with MIT. Why? It's because we believe in their educational philosophy, combining mind and hand. We believe in the culture of learning by doing. What does it mean? It's because like many programs will offer you the opportunities or the experiences in the classroom only. You learn about the concepts and theories. Maybe at the end of the program, you will have a capstone project to put your learning to the test. But for our program, we believe that your learning journey should be you learn about the concepts and theories, and at the same time, you should put it to the learning to the test right away. So this is what we do. Now, with the collaborations with MIT, they influence our school and our program in different ways. So our school is relatively young, but it's very vibrant. We have been offering the MBA, Executive MBA, and also Master in Central Banking programs. And next year, we are going to have a new program, Masters in Management. And not only that, we also offer executive education programs where we have open and customized programs for corporations and government agencies. And of course, as a business schools, our faculty members, our researchers, they do research and then a lot of independent studies with corporations and also like government agencies in the region. Now, when it comes to the MBA program, because of our collaborations with MIT, they impact a lot on our program developments. So let's see. Now, our MBA program, these are the key value propositions. Now, in the past, we offered 2 years MBA program. Coming forward in 2023, September, we are going to offer the 1-year MBA program. Now with this, we talk about these value propositions. Innovative curriculum. As I just mentioned, because of the MIT's pedagogy, we reference their curriculum and we will be able to adapt. And we believe the action learning experiences, whereas sometimes we call it experiential learning experiences. Not only that, it's both the program itself is taught by both MIT visiting faculty and also ASB resident faculty. This is very important because you have to understand when you come to our program, you're not only learning the local perspective, you are learning the international, Western, and also Asia perspective. And also the career, professional, and personal development support. It's also throughout the program. And last but not least is the extended learning opportunities. That is and multiple pathways for you to consider when you complete the program. So let me go to the curriculum to share with you what it's like so that you can get a sense. Now, this 1-year MBA program, if you look at this chart, think of it as like 3 semesters and 3 pillars. It will be easier for you to remember. Now, 12 months seems to be long, but it goes really fast because of lots of things are going on. Let's look at the green one. Now, basically in term 1 and term 2, you are coming to the business management education. It's also very important for you to understand all the business functions. And because at the end of the day, you want to master all the business acumen. So you still have to attend core courses and elective courses in term 1 and term 2 at ASB in Malaysia. All right. And term 3, you will need to go to MIT, Cambridge campus in Boston for up to 3 weeks to study in the immersion program. And on top of that, you also have some elective courses online that you can attend. Now, this is the traditional classroom learning experience. This is where you learn all the concepts and theories. Now, when it comes to the blue section, that one, the pillar, is the experiential learning. We call it action learning experiences, which Sangeeta is going to talk about. I won't go through it in details, but picture it yourself. While you are doing the classroom learning, and then you have to go through all the assessments, preparations, and exams. But at the same time, you are also doing all these actions at the same time. So that's why please be prepared that you are definitely very driven and motivated to go through this curriculum. And then the last pillar will be the career professional personal development, because we also believe in your lifelong skill set, be it you're talking about leadership skills, your negotiation, interpersonal skills, or, even when you want to, I would say, train yourself to be like very confident in doing presentation and also how to present yourself to the future employers. All these things you need to learn. And don't forget about yourself too. Sometimes development is not just about career. It's also your overall professional and personal development. So our school is actually providing this to you throughout the program, not the end of the semester. Now, a typical class week, the class sessions will be from Monday to Thursday normally. Sometimes it depends on the classes. Now, whenever faculty members coming from MIT to teach you on campus here in Malaysia, so sometimes classes will be on Friday as well. And not only that, you are not just studying your class, with your classmates in the MBA program. You will also have the opportunities to study some courses with the executive MBA students as well. So that kind of the synergy, the exposure, that is something that is quite unique in our program. Now, whenever there's a Friday for free, students will always have different options. What it means is we leave it to you to decide, be it you want to spend more time to do your career development or professional development, or some international students say, hey, this is a long weekend. Can I just go to other Asia countries to have more cultural exposure? By all means, you can do that. And you are the one to make that decision. So next, I will talk about the faculty members. Now, all the students always ask us this question. Are we going to be taught by MIT faculty members, but who are the ASB faculty members? Are they the local faculty? Then it depends on how you define the terms, okay? So in this program, a significant proportion of the curriculum is going to be taught by MIT senior visiting faculty members. And when they teach in MIT, so they teach you here and treat you the same as the MIT students in US, because they are not going to change the curriculums. They are going to teach you the same thing. Some of the faculty members, for example, Bruno, he's very popular. For him, if you want to study in his class, students will need to then write an essay to apply. And he will read every single essay by himself to select the students to be in his class. But when we bring him to Malaysia to teach you, everybody gets to join his class. So that's the things is like we endeavor to just get the best faculty to join you. Now, for our ASB resident faculty, they are also renowned scholars in their fields, in their research and teaching. And some of them, they also have practical business experience because they serve on the board and they are the consultants to companies, so that they bring in different, perspectives of the experience. And they also got their PhD from very prestigious universities such as Oxford, MIT, and Stanford. So that's why, it's very important for you to understand we are trying to bring in so many different background, industry background, and also research background, and also the different perspectives to the classroom. So that makes us our learning to be very international and also diverse. So upon the program completion, you are going to receive an MBA degree from Asia School of Business, and you will become our alumni. And because of collaborations with MIT, you will also receive the MIT Sloan Immersion Program certificates, because you are going to go there to study for 3 weeks. So at the end of that, the program, you will become the MIT affiliate alumni and receive their alumni email for life. Now, with everybody thinks that when you complete the program, that's it. We go back to the workforce and then just, move on. However, we believe in lifelong learning. We believe that sometimes, yes, some of the students will just go back and then just work for a couple of years, but maybe in years' time, they just feel that, it's not enough. I want to learn again. Or some students say that this 1 year goes just too fast. I really enjoy the learning experience, be it at ASB or MIT, and they wanted to have more. So what they do is they can extend their learning right after the program completion, or they have up to 5 years to make that decisions to continue the learning journey. Now, first one will be some international students would like to extend their stay at ASB for up to 4 months as the scholar and also entrepreneur in residence. The purpose of doing this is either they take additional courses they would like to take, or they want to do some independent study, or even to start working on their startups in the region. So they just have more time to stay on campus, or they even want to have extra time to look for employment opportunities, then this is what they would choose. And some other students say the MIT experience is just too great and they don't want to, they think that 3 months, 3 weeks is just not enough. So what they do, actually, they will do the visiting fellows program. This is not a degree program, it's just a certificate program. But for 1 semester, they can take a couple of more courses, a few more courses, so that they will be able to deep dive into the certain subject areas that they are interested in. For example, sustainability. So what they do is because you already complete the MBA program, you have a very strong foundation already. So there's no one to design your curriculum. You are the one to make the decision whether you want to take courses within the MIT Sloan School of Management, or you want to take courses outside the business school, but in other faculty and the university. Or some students might even consider to cross-register some courses at Harvard Kennedy School. So this is something that you have the flexibility to do. Now, the third one is a little bit more serious, and also there's quite popular in our program as well. Now, every year we have students who have bigger ambitions. They think that, 1 year MBA, okay, good, but I still think that, I want to have more education, especially in US. So what they would consider is to join or enroll into the 9-month, the MSMS, which is Master of Science in Management Studies program at MIT Sloan. So what is it? Now, during this 9 months, 2 semesters, similar to the Visiting Fellows program, we don't design your curriculum. You are the one who just choose the courses where you want to study, outside or within the business school or across, Harvard Kennedy School. Now, with that 9 months degree, that you need to complete a thesis to graduate. But when you graduate, this is a STEM degree. So with that, international students will have up to 3 years work authorizations to look for employment opportunities in US. So many international students always like this option. And one thing to highlight is this MSMS program is exclusive for graduates from MIT Sloan Partner School and Affiliate School. And they have about 10 around the world, and ASB is one of them. And very important, you understand that also this program is not that you pay, it's guarantee your admission. You need to have a very good academic standing in our program. At least the CGPA has to be 3.67 or above. You still need to have a very good GMAT GRE score or EA score in order to join the program. So, but because that this is exclusive to the affiliate and also like the partner school of MIT Sloan, your competition is relatively less competitive because it's not open to public. But again, it's still a very competitive program that, students will need to work hard on that. And of course, I mean, our school is also providing the environment, the solid learning experience for you so that you will meet that criteria. Okay, so with that, this is I would like to conclude this part. Because of this session, I want you to have more time to spend it with our students and alumni. I'm not going to go through the admissions process or requirements and tuition. But after the session, and we will follow up, then send a follow-up email to you so that we can continue the conversation later. Okay, so thank you very much for this joining this part, and I'm going to pass the time to Sangeeta so that she can continue with the action learning journey. Thank you, Sangeeta.
Great, thank you so much, Stephanie, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to share with our students a little bit more about what action learning is all about here at the Asia School of Business. All right, so it's already skipped. Okay, so as Stephanie mentioned, my name is Sangeeta Matu. I am the Director for Action Learning, and I've been here at the Asia School of Business for 2.5, almost 3 years now. Prior to my experience at Asia School of Business, I was actually working in industry. I've worked in the pharmaceutical industry and also in the telco industry, and also worked as a independent consultant. But let's move on from that. Stephanie has already touched a little bit on our background and who we are and our affiliation and collaboration with MIT. I just want to share with you a little bit about the background of, what is action learning all about? So this actually, as Stephanie has mentioned, it harks back to MIT's motto back when they were inaugurated, or when they started in around 1861. The motto of MIT is mens et manus, which is Latin for mind and hand. And what that really means is that all the stuff, all the good stuff that we learn in classrooms, it's fantastic, it's great knowledge and it's great learning. But to really extract the most value from all that good stuff we learn, it's important to be able to apply that knowledge soon after we've learned it, before we forget it. So really, this philosophy is joining the dots, is how I see it, joining the dots between the theory and the frameworks and what we learn in the classroom, and being able to apply it outside of the classroom in real organizations and businesses. Action learning here at the Asia School of Business is central to our MBA program. Stephanie had the curriculum up a little bit earlier, and you could see that action learning runs throughout all of these semesters. So you will have that action learning thread continuing through your entire MBA experience, and I'll go through the various components of action learning with you in a few minutes' time. Just as a higher level, what actually is action learning? Action learning is, if we look at how it joined, I mentioned before, action learning is about joining the dots between theory and practice. Action learning really means the opportunity to spend some time at different companies to either observe or indeed get very immersed and involved in looking to see how certain business problems or challenges can be solved by yourself. The action learning experiences will take place, of course, within Malaysia, and you may also have experiences to do some of that in Southeast Asia. All right, so what are the action learning components within the MBA? They are, and I'll go through them in more detail later, they are the industry track. And the industry track is something that is open to both our full-time MBA students as well as those on the MBA EMBA program, the Executive MBA program. We also have a business practicum. Our students who will be joining us on the EMBA program actually will go through 2 business practicums. So they will have double of that experience. But if you're looking to join our full-time program, fret not, because you will also have exposure to an action learning team project, and also, of course, the summer associate program, which you'll do during the summer. So you've heard a little bit about action learning, and it stems back from MIT. So what actually is the pedagogy of MIT? So as you look through this and you read the, read some of the words, you'll say, hey, this is pretty straightforward. It's not rocket science. And I think that's where the beauty of the MIT action learning pedagogy is. It's really in its simplicity. And if we just look through this and start at number one there, it's really an opportunity when there's a problem that's presented to you at a host company, or it doesn't have to be in a host company, but when you're confronted with a problem, it's really about taking the time to kind of chart out how you're going to spend that time. The suggestion is, according to the pedagogy, is to first understand where you're at, observe what's happening around you, and kind of just take things in. The next step, once you've got an understanding of what the problem is, you've asked some powerful questions, and you've got an understanding of what the problem statements are, what might be contributing to some of the challenges, is to then look to see what is it that you're going to do to try and start resolving or deconstructing some of that problem statement. So what do you need to put together to arrive at that stage? And that's what we define as an action plan. So what is it that you need to do to be able to deconstruct that problem, to understand what contributes to it, to understand, how you might want to take it further. Once you've done that, you've identified your methodologies, your frameworks that also you plan to use, then the action starts. That's when you kind of get super immersive. You're, with the host. You're in that ecosystem, and you start putting your action into. Putting your action into plan. This will involve, of course, gathering data, interviewing people, getting access to people and access to data, getting various data points collected. And at later stages, you might also start thinking about how to tweak certain aspects, certain input that's contributing to your problem or to your challenge, and seeing what the impact of some of that, tweaking might be. So suggesting certain experiments that you might want to do, as we call it, at the host company site. And then I believe the next bit is the fourth one is reflect. And I think in some ways this is the most powerful piece of it all, because everything else I think probably most of us do as a matter of course when we're working or studying. But the thing around reflection, which is, it's not taking a time out, it's more, I think, just pausing and kind of debriefing and understanding what it is that we have observed, what it is that we have done, and how have we done it. And if we had another chance, what more questions would we ask? What would we do differently? What more data access would we get? What experiments could we do? It's that opportunity to reflect that's really powerful. And then once we've done that, we go through that cycle again. So it's going through this, action learning pedagogy is really going through this on a repeating basis. But every time it's not boring, because every time you're getting more information, you're getting to understand the complexity of the problem you're solving. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about some of the times that you will be, you'll be able to use that pedagogy. So first, let's talk about the industry track. So the industry track really, especially for those of you who are thinking about the full-time program, is something that's going to happen at the beginning of your MBA journey. And it's really an opportunity for you to use those observation skills and the powerful, question asking skills. You'll be taken to an exciting country, with a vibrant economy, where you'll get the chance to meet key industries that contribute to the GDP or to that economy. And this could be a combination of sort of huge big companies, but also maybe some exciting startups and maybe SMEs. You may also get the opportunity, of course, to meet MNCs, which have global presence. But more than just meeting some of these senior leaders and understanding, getting exposure to different industries that you may not already have had, you'll also, of course, get to extend your network. And even more, to give you really a holistic experience, holistic and immersive experience of that industry track, you will also get to get involved in social aspects of being part of that country, and cultural aspects. So it's not just about, understanding how business is done in that country, but also what it means to be part of that culture and what some of the cultural aspects are in that country. And of course, there'll be opportunities also to see some of the tourist sites and some of the places of interest in that country. You'll be doing this together with your cohort, so it's also a fantastic opportunity to bond with your cohort. In terms of some of the background, in the past, pre-COVID times, the industry trek actually used to go to China. And I'm sure, as you can understand, with the onset of COVID, that we weren't able to do that anymore. Now, the department that organizes and works very hard to put in place a fantastic industry trek for you is called the Career Development Office, or CDO, as I'll refer to them. And CDO, as COVID was sort of turning a corner, worked very hard to identify which regions or part of the world were open. And it was identified that Dubai and Abu Dhabi were locations which were exciting and also had lesser restrictions. And so our industry treks were organized, and the students went to those locations. However, now with the world opening up and Asia kind of being more accessible to us, we are looking at industry treks closer to the region or closer to home here in Malaysia within the region. Now, if you ask me, hey, which country is it that we're going to be going to in the next cohort, I'm honestly not able to answer you. That's something that's being planned. We're looking at the best options for yourselves. And the names of Japan, China also, and in Korea have come up. But equally, there's very exciting opportunities also in countries like Indonesia. So, watch this space, and we'll let you know as soon as we have that information. Just some pictures there of a trek that was done in Singapore more recently. It was actually a career trek, so that's a little bit different. But just wanted to share with you, just to give you some pictures and some ideas of companies that our students visited. All right, moving on from industry trek, let's move on to business practicum. So the business practicum is your opportunity to really not just observe and ask questions, but actually get your fingers and your hands really immersed in a business. Practicums are an opportunity for yourselves to go into a company as part of the whole cohort, the whole class. You will look at the supply chain challenges of a certain company. You'll break up into teams. Typical team size is about 4, and you will spend a full Monday. Usually we arrive on the Sunday, but you will spend the full Monday to Friday working on a part of the supply chain that is of interest to you, together with your team, to understand, hey, what is it that's causing delays or challenges in this area or inefficiencies, and how can we, like I said, deconstruct or unravel some of that to understand what's contributing to it, and potentially, what little experiments or tweaks could we do to see, whether we can improve some of this. So essentially, the Monday to the Thursday, you would get together in your teams and observe and ask questions and maybe get access to some data and sort of go through that process of trying to deconstruct the problem. Every evening from the Monday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday evening, you will actually get together with all the other teams that are also doing their practicum, and each team will debrief. So each team will have about 10 minutes or so to debrief and present their findings, present what their some of their analysis and insights, but also some of the next steps that are going to be taken. And this is always very exciting because you get to appreciate some themes that come out when you get to understand end to end what some of the issues might be. You get to understand the impact of those parts of the supply chain that are upstream to you, but also the area that you're looking at. Hey, what are some of the tweaks that we make? And if we make them, what could be the impact downstream to us? So it's a really exciting way to get a really comprehensive view of the supply chain and the challenges and opportunities in that supply chain for a specific company. And just to give you some examples of practicums that have been done in the past, we have had our students most recently go to an F&B outlets here in Malaysia. They're called Kampung Krebs. They have about 15 or so outlets in the capital region. And our students looked end to end, whether it was in the kind of the warehousing side, whether it was a production facility, whether it was in the various outlets. We had students, student teams kind of at each part of the supply chain, trying to understand, how the operations could improve. And then we also took our MBAs, or working professionals, MBAs to the Big C in Bangkok. For those of you who are familiar with Bangkok, you'll know Big C is essentially a huge chain of supermarkets. They have hypermarkets, mini markets, and you name it, all various configurations of supermarkets in Thailand. And we took our students there, and again, they were based in the delivery centers, they were based in the various retail outlets, some of them also based in the head office, to try and understand and improve some of the operational aspects of Big C. And just quickly here, we've also done projects with Thai AirAsia, but also AirAsia in Malaysia, with Volvo Cars. And also maybe a little bit unusual, but just to kind of show the diversity of the type of projects that we do as part of practicums. We also took our students to Batu Pahat in Johor, which is actually very near the Singapore border. Our students looked at the oil palm, the small farmers who have oil palm plantations. So these are not the huge conglomerates that you hear about, but these are the small farmers who maybe have had this land where they grow the oil palm for generations, and they look to see how there could be more sustainable solutions that could be adopted throughout various stages of their supply chain. Right from collection of the oil palm fruit to kind of the processing of it and the distribution of it, as well as the impact to the community. So really exciting and really powerful stuff. And you might get to hear more about this when our panelists and students speak about this. Just a quick slide here to show you the variety of different projects, different practicums that we've done since we kicked off. Okay, let's move on now to action learning. So for the students who will be joining on the full-time program, you will get to do one action learning project. And this is a team-based action learning project. Essentially, you will get access to a variety of different projects in Malaysia and outside Malaysia as well. And you will be able to identify the projects that are of interest to you. We will be allocating various projects based on a variety of different metrics, but essentially you'll be spending the equivalent of about 3 to 4 weeks dedicated to solving a real problem that a business is facing. The project, the first week of the project will be done online. And the subsequent part of the project is 2 weeks of on-site, which means you'll actually be physically based where the host is based, or indeed where the market focus for the project might be. The final section of this will be a very exciting novel way of working, where you will be having dedicated time for about 3 weeks every day for about 3 weeks, where you will have time to meet with your fellow teammates and decide what you'll be working on. But then you'll find independent time to complete your actions and make sure you deliver your project, to a high standard and as per the requirements of the host company. The action learning projects are supported by a faculty advisor as well as a business coach. So you will be you will be guided throughout the duration of the project. There'll be very strong scaffolding for you throughout the duration of the project with your teammates. Our faculty advisors are, as Stephanie has highlighted, have got a variety of areas of expertise. And our business coaches, and this is very unique to Asia School of Business, our business coaches are typically very experienced C-suite or ex-C-suite, C-1 suite, who have got 20, 30 years of experience across not just different functions, but industries as well, and can really bring in that business acumen and also that ability to kind of coach and guide you in the right direction. Action learning projects, as mentioned, can be done in Malaysia or also outside Malaysia. And just some examples to share with you here. Very recent examples. There's a project done with Sapura Energy based in Lumut, which is within peninsular Malaysia. We also had a team which went to Vietnam, Ho Chi Minh City, and looked at the cultural, how to improve corporate culture and engagement within the staff of the host company, Fu Hong Life Insurance. We had a team that went to Manila and looked at a branding project for the various parts of the PTC group of companies. If we kind of look down, there's Mayume, which many of you may not have heard of, but you'll know their clients. So if you know Chanel and you know L'Oreal, Mayume is actually a company that provides some of the formulations as well as the packaging for some of these companies. So we've had Mayume actually host quite a few projects for us. And this project most recently was that we had a project done in Bangkok, but also the students got to go to Indonesia. And then you'll see Ancora Foundation right at the bottom. Ancora Foundation was a very interesting project where there's a very popular podcast, and the students' remit was essentially to try and ensure that there was a sustainable solution for that podcast, such that it wasn't relying on cash injections essentially from the parent company. And then going to the top right, this project was done in Bintulu, which is in Borneo Island, and Mubadala Energy was the host company, and they were looking for our students to identify sustainable ESG opportunities that they could support the local community. So our students went in and identified a whole bunch of different opportunities and zoned in on about 3 or 4 that were of real interest to the company, and then eventually kind of identified one opportunity related to the fishermen's community, and went into more details on how Mubadala could support them. All right, so that's about our action learning projects. Let me move on to the final part of the action learning components, the summer associate program. So contrary to the previous experiences of industry trek, of your practicum and your action learning project, you've had all that experience in a team. And as part of your summer associate program, it's now time for you to employ some of what your learnings and some of your action learning pedagogy on an individual basis. So really the summer associate program is an opportunity for you to spend a minimum of 8, but up to about 12 weeks doing a project or delivering a piece of work for a host company. Now, we very strongly recommend that you tap into the networks that you already have, and maybe the companies are the kind of functions or industries that you're excited and want to consider post-MBA. So we do strongly recommend you reach out to your own network. There are a small number of projects that Asia School of Business, so it would be Action Learning Team, as well as the Career Development Office, or CDO, would also identify some projects. But we strongly recommend that you use a 2-pronged approach and also cast the net wide and look at your own network to see what projects could be interesting for you. So just to share with you some examples here, we had our student Gauhar on the left-hand side, Gauhar from Kazakhstan, who's going to be graduating soon. She got a project with the Asian Development Bank. She was based out in Almaty in Kazakhstan, but I believe her manager was actually based in Manila. On the right-hand side, we have our student from the Philippines, Bill, who did his project with Mayume, who you may recognize as being an action learning host as well. He did his project with them, and he spent some time in Jakarta. And next one, you will see a picture of Eric. Eric is actually based in Tokyo. I believe we put him in touch with Bauer Group, and then he made his own way and secured a summer associate program for himself with Bauer Group in Tokyo. Eric is also one of our panelists today, so you'll get to hear more from him about that experience, I'm sure. And the last picture that you see now on the right-hand side there is just to share with you that there are other opportunities as well. So the vast majority of students will do a summer associate program where they're attached to an organization or a corporate. But we do get some students who choose to do research projects with our faculty here, but that's very much in line with what the faculty requirements are. So that's something that's not a given. It's something that you would have to approach faculty and see whether there was an opportunity or not. The other opportunity also is something that's demonstrated in this final picture, which is if you have an entrepreneurial idea or you have a venture, whether it's in very nascent stage or whether it's has been developed to some extent, you can spend that period dedicated for summer associate program, those 8 to 12 weeks, actually developing your entrepreneurial venture or your idea. And you can do that alone, or you can do that with one or two other members from your cohort. And here we've got a picture of Gina, who is actually developing an app. She was based out in KL doing this. Her app was essentially to try and provide more helpful solutions to recent parents. Okay, so with that, you might be wondering what are the types of projects that you can get involved in for your SAP, but also for action learning, what sort of comes through. I'm not going to read all of that out, but just to give you a sense of that you will be receiving, and we are expecting you for SAP to also seek out projects from a diverse different functions and industries. All right, and almost my final slide here, just to share with you that in the time that we have been operational in the last 7 years or so, we're very excited to share that our students have completed more than 450 projects. So be this action learning projects or summer associate programs with over 200 hosts in more than 30 countries. Obviously, a vast majority of those 30 countries, are from many students going to various countries to do their summer associate programs. And I would say the action learning projects probably contribute to about 8 or so different countries out of those 33. What you see here are very impressive companies that we have done, or students have done projects with. But I also want you to remember that Malaysia and Southeast Asia and many parts of the world, the majority of our workforce is actually employed in the SME segment. So when we present different projects to yourselves, or when there's different opportunities to engage via practicum with various companies, they will not just be the MNCs that we recognize here, but they may also be local conglomerates. They may be very exciting SMEs and of course startups as well. So we're very excited to present you with a wide variety of different projects as well as host companies. And we look forward to if you have any questions specifically in action learning, look forward to answering your questions after you've heard from the panel. But before we hand over the panel, just want to say a huge thank you to the team that makes this all come together. I'm joined also today by Monica Choi and Ben Nasir, and of course, Giket Chi can't be here today, but he's also part of the action learning team. And together with the Career Development Office, who pulls together the industry track and the summer associate program, we're very excited to bring you all the components of action learning that we have talked to you about today. And now I'm going to hand over to the people that you've really come here to listen to today, our alumni and our students. So I'm excited to present to you Leticia Salazar, who is our alumni who graduated from the full-time program last summer. She is based out in Mexico. She's Mexican. She's based out in Mexico City. It's very early in the morning for her. So thank you to Leticia to moderate the session with our EMBA alumni, Nur Asma, and also our soon-to-graduate full-time students, Eric from the US and Norris from South Africa. So Leticia, over to you, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Sangeeta, and hi everyone. I hope you're having a great day. I don't know where are you joining us from. I would love you to post that into the chat. I'm sure that we would love to see where are you joining, which countries and so. So just as Sangeeta said, I'm joining from Mexico. I'm at the moment in Mexico City, and it's a great pleasure to be all with you. As she said, I am an MBA from the full-time program from 2022. And just to give you a little background of myself, I was an industrial engineer before joining ASV, and I used to work at Robert Bosch in the automotive industry. And after ASV, like my life changed completely, and I'm right now working at the Silo, which is a deep learning AI startup. And I am also working like project management combined with sales and marketing, and that's something great. And so today you'll see, or you hear from different speakers that are amazing. These are my friends, so please welcome them. And if you have any questions, please post them on the chat because we will have a Q&A session at the end. And well, so these amazing people will tell you about their action learning experiences. They won't tell you like everything that Stephanie and Zangita told you, like in those lines. They will tell from their hearts how they lived. So please hear what they want to say. And I want to welcome them. And I would like also to tell them or ask them to briefly introduce themselves. So friends who would like to start with that? Norris, I see. Asma, please.
Yeah,
please,
I'll
please.
start. Hi, everyone. It's really great to be here today and to see everyone, so many of you joining us today. So just a brief introduction. I am from the Executive MBA program, graduated last year in 2022. Before ASB, I have about 6 years of experience in public transport and also consumer retail before joining that. And after ASB, I pivoted my career into management consulting. So I'm now currently working in one of the leading management consulting firms in Kuala Lumpur office. Thanks.
Thank you, Asma. Norris, I would like to jump over to you. I see you smiling, please.
Hi, everyone. My name is Norris. I'm soon to be a graduate of ASB, exciting. Before school, I was, I worked 8 years, I had 8 years of experience. Started off in business development at an aviation company that was then bought by Eaton. Ran my own private wealth startup, which, had clients in the US. And it looks like I'll be joining, probably working within venture capital now. That's where the direction of my career is going. But I'm very excited to have this conversation and to meet anyone, and happy to answer any questions you guys have.
Eric.
Yeah, hi everyone. Thank you so much for coming today. It's exciting to see so many people interested, and I'm happy to see you. My name is Eric. I'm a full-time MBA student, class of 2023. So I'm about to graduate in just a few days, right? So I finished all my schoolwork. It's great. I'm excited. I can graduate. But before my MBA, I worked as a business development manager and a global product manager for a Japanese manufacturing firm. I did that for about 8 years, and I worked out of Tokyo for all that time. And before that, I went to my undergrad in Japan as well. So I'm actually an American. I'm from the US, but I like to say I'm not very good at it because I've spent most of the last 13 years outside the US. But yeah, so I did my MBA. And during the course of that, I got excited about entrepreneurship and studying more. So I'm actually going back to school again. I'm going to the MSMS program at MIT. So I'm excited to do that. And I'm currently in the US right now, trying to get everything set up for next year. All right. Yep. Nice to meet everyone.
Thank you, Eric. All right. So as you can see, we're a bunch of people joining from different industries in one great program that at the end could or not change your life or your career experience. So you'll hear more about that. And well, to be honest, action learning is one of the most exciting things about ASB. That's actually the reason why I guess all of us joined. And it's true that each experience is lived through each person's life. So it's very depending on you. And according to your enthusiasm, your attitude, and your ease to navigate these uncertain waters, because you'll be facing things that you had never faced before, you'll be able to succeed. So having that in mind, I would like to start asking my dear panelists to tell us more about their most relevant action learning experience and some of the biggest challenges that they have found along the way. So Asma, I would like to start with you, if you don't mind.
Sure, Letitia. I was lucky enough to experience a couple of business practicums, and I think Sangeeta mentioned the differences between each of the different action learning type of programs that they offer. So in terms of business practicums, I did two of that. One is the sustainability practicum at Batu Pahat, Johor, where we looked into the sustainability of palm oil. We went to Batu Pahat to go to the underground to see the palm oil plantation. And then the other business practicum that I also experienced is at Batu Batu Resort, which is also in Johor. That was also with Eric and Norris as well. That was more on understanding, how do you operate a resort, and also looking into the more of the operational side of things. So maybe I'll touch a bit more on the Batu Pahat practicum that I mentioned in the first place. So for that particular one, as described before, we are put into smaller teams to work on different problem statements. And for mine, it was centered around understanding what was how to tackle like workforce issues in palm oil plantations, given that we always rely on like foreign workers for palm oil. So that was a problem statement at hand, and we got to actually be on the ground and see how things work and talk to the different stakeholders that are involved in the problem statement that was given to us. So in short, like in terms of the challenges that I saw, and also how we overcome those challenges, is that challenges, of course, I think in terms of working as a team, understanding each other's way of working for you to then be able to work together as a team, setting up roles in order for you to effectively problem solve the topic at hand. And then also how do you solve for this is basically looking for the right resources on the ground, for example from the school and also from the host of the practicum itself, when you are able to lay out all of the things that you need and also what are the things that you are solving for, then you are able to effectively work as a group. So that was, I think, one of the challenges that is very natural in terms of when you are working on projects across the MBA.
Thank you, Asma. And I also enjoyed that practicum in Batu Pahat. I've never had an experience similar to that before. It was very fun and insightful. I will jump over to Eric, so you can share your most relevant action learning experience and your challenges.
Yeah, I think as far as challenging projects go and, the sort of things that come up with action learning, I've definitely got quite a few experiences I could talk about. I loved all the projects. I think, there's a really big difference between learning something from a textbook and actually trying to do it, right? So that's what's exciting about action learning. In my case, perhaps one of the biggest challenges is, these are team projects. You're also dealing with, your host companies, you've got your coaches, you've got your professor, and then you've also got the action learning department. So you've got a lot of stakeholders to manage. You've got a lot of people with, different motivations, different ideas, right? So just really managing the people side of the project is definitely a challenge. For me, one of the examples of something that came up was I was doing an action learning project with the United Nations, and we were developing a go-to-market strategy for an e-commerce aggregator in the Solomon Islands. So it was a pretty significant project, and we started out with a 4-person team, but in the middle of the project, one of the team members somewhat inexplicably went to the US. And so we kind of had to make up for that work, right? But those are the types of challenges that will come up in a project like this. So just being able to stay in contact with people and letting your stakeholders know what the situation is, and being able to adjust your deliverable to be like, okay, this is what we can do with the time that we have. Is this good for you? Making sure everyone is aware of what's going on, and trying to overcome whatever challenges that will come up, because there will definitely be sort of random challenges that come up during these projects. So, yep.
Thanks, Eric. And finally, for this first question, Norris, I would love to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, much the same like Eric and Asma. Most of the challenges you will get, I think, would be people related. I could give you examples, but I think maybe some insight on a project that we did in Thailand for Air Asia. And a very great project. They had an aviation academy, which which struggled during COVID, and they were looking to, get it back in the green. So it was a challenge. The first challenge that you get is, first getting to know the industry, and then getting to know the direction that people want to go to, that they want to take. And then also buying, getting that buy-in. When you do come in with solutions and you come in with an approach, do you get the host's buy-in? So a lot of the challenges was just keeping people informed, working within your team. You'll have challenges within your team, managing the stakeholders. So the challenges are really around people. I do also want to say that, the projects themselves will challenge you personally. And that, I think, is something that this is what the program is about, for you to get out of your comfort zone, to learn from others. Maybe you'll be the problem in the group. So it's also time for you to, kind of also participate. That's, I think that's it with that question.
Thanks, Norris, and thanks the three of you. I totally agree. I like what Asma said. These are very natural challenges through life, not only in action learning projects. And I guess that action learning is like an opportunity to leave those challenges and to practice those challenges to be prepared after the MBA, because you can face a different industry afterwards. You don't know, but you're totally going to be in a very uncomfortable zone. But action learning is just more than just challenges. It also can serve as a revelation of how you envision the next steps in your career. And Eric has a very interesting experience, and I want you to tell our audience how these action learning experiences impacted the way you see your professional life moving forward.
Yeah, thank you so much. So I would love to talk about this. For me, one of the big transformations that happened during the MBA happened over the summer, and it was during our summer associate program. And I had this amazing internship at Bauer Group Asia, which is a consulting firm that focuses on government relations. And it was something that I thought I definitely wanted to do before the MBA. I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to be a management consultant. It's going to be amazing, right? Very fancy career, and it's a really cool experience to have. I got to go to the Japanese House of Representatives. I met some of the trade ministers there. I helped organize meetings between CEOs in Japan and people in their government who are like pretty high up, and I was like, wow, this is like really amazing experience. But at the same time, I was also, during the beginning of the MBA, I started to get a little bit of interest in entrepreneurship. So in Tokyo, they have the Cambridge Innovation Center, which is the innovation hub for entrepreneurship. And every week I was going to these networking sort of meetings at the innovation hub there. And I just sort of fell in love with the culture, the lifestyle, and I got really excited about a startup that I was working on that I started based out of our experience at the Sustainable Resort, cleaning up trash, and sort of a ecological impact startup. And so I became interested in this idea as well. So I had this comparison between like two very different worlds, right? You've got government on one side, which is very impactful, very, very good, but also very different in the way that it works compared to like a fast-paced startup culture, right? And so, you know, I was lucky enough to be able to compare these two things simultaneously. And I just realized that for me, you know, the better fit was entrepreneurship. And I got excited about that. And so I changed all my life plans and decided to pursue that. And I applied to MIT with that same startup idea, talking about all the crazy things I'm going to do to change the world, and they let me come to the school, right? So yeah, that's basically it. So it's a great experience, and it was very transformative. So, yep.
Thank you, Eric. I do believe you will be doing all those crazy things to change the world. I hope you do them. Please do so. And a friend of mine, Norris, he's been with me, or I've been with him since almost his first days in ASB, because he was my like my junior grad. So I really like how you were evolving through your experience, Norris. And I think you also had something to share about this pivoting, looking into new industry that you can share with the audience as well.
Okay, so you've been just talking about pivoting.
Yeah, how action learning experience helped you to decide to get into different industries.
Yeah. So yeah, just for some context, when I came in, I just came in from running my own startup, which didn't make it through COVID. So coming into the MBA, it was a different world with COVID, and things were very uncertain. So I came in with an open mind, and I think my first action learning had to do with just a lot of entrepreneurial education and funding education. And then, I ended, well, in that action learning, we taught some bachelor students just about how the entrepreneurial ecosystem worked. And then that sparked an interest. And then I then started to do an SAP with a venture capital firm. And that was really then when I realized that, you know, being involved in the entrepreneurial ecosystem here in Malaysia and just in Southeast Asia in general really sparked this, you know, desire to just pivot my career and see how I could participate within, you know, the VC world and still work with entrepreneurs in a meaningful way. So I was able to then leverage my SAP experience to kind of maybe charter my way into a career in venture capital. Through that experience, I applied to a venture fellows program with a prominent VC firm out of Singapore. I got into that program. So weekly, I'm literally pitching and scouting startups. Yeah, if it wasn't for just that those moments of self-reflection, those moments of actually going through the SAPs, connecting the dots between what I learned from my action learning, connecting the dots with what I want to do maybe in my SAP, what I'd like to explore, wouldn't have connected the dots to say, okay, this is actually the direction I want to take with my career. Yeah.
Thank you, Nari. That was very interesting. So from startups, you turned to the other side of the force, and now you're the VC scouting startup. So that's amazing.
I went to the dark side.
Yeah. And speaking of pivoting, so in my cohort, there's this woman, which I really admire a lot because of this great change she did. And this is Asma. And as she was speaking, she managed to pivot her career and get into one of the top consulting firms in the world. And Asma, please share with us, how was that? And how did you get into consulting, or why?
Sure. So it's a personal journey of my own, actually. Even before ASB, I have been thinking about switching my career. I was working in industry for about, like I mentioned, 6 to 7 years. but I wasn't feeling fulfilled in terms of what I was doing, and I wanted to like see the world, like like what else am I missing out on? So MBA was something that I heavily considered that could potentially change my views. And then when going through the MBA program, the action learning projects that I was doing sort of strengthens my idea, and also understanding that consulting might be a good fit for me because of the different projects that we're doing, short-term projects with different teams, with different problems that you have to solve for, which is exactly like what management consulting is all about. And I'm experiencing the same kind of rhythm and also cadence in my current job as a management consultant, and I'm enjoying it as much as I can. I get to travel, I get to meet so many different people, working with so many different important stakeholders, with the government, and also with like large large conglomerates in other countries as well. So for me, the action learning and the MBA itself helped me to really understand that consulting is something that I think is a good fit for me. And I mean, I don't have the luxury to experience too much of the entrepreneurship side of things during ASB. But that doesn't mean that what I'm doing right now does not have any elements of entrepreneurship as well, right? So that's how I saw it. I think my message here is that you have to take ownership in terms of what you want to become, and let this MBA, this action learning, to become an enabler for you to be able to do that.
That's a very powerful message, Asma. Thanks. So I want to ask you, like in brief, like very concrete things. If you could tell the audience like 2 or 3 main learning takeaways from your action learning projects, what would those be? Norris.
Briefly, I would say go into every project with a proactive mindset. Make everything your own. Go into every project with a collaborative mindset, wanting to work with others. And I think the last thing I would say, go into every project, SAP, or even looking at your career with a curious mindset. You never know what you started with. Be curious. What if something, be curious and open to new opportunity. So those are the last 3 that that's what I'd give as advice. Yeah.
Nice. Eric.
Yeah, I think there's a wonderful feature about all the action learning projects at ASB and all the different projects that you're going to do, and that's that you can't get fired, right? So it's an amazing opportunity that you probably won't have working in any company that you're working for, right? You'll be able to sort of try ambitious new things. You can hone a new skill set. You can take things that you learned only recently and see like, oh, does this really work? And it turns out that it might, right? So I think that the big takeaway for me from action learning was to just sort of go in with, as Nora said as well, experimental mindset, try new things, be bold, try an ambitious new strategy, try and hone a new skill. For me, I did data analytics, which is something that I didn't really do before the MBA, but I got really into that. And I tried that on one of my most recent projects, and it was really successful. I did some machine learning algorithms to try and find the customer persona, based on just some data, right? So there's a lot of cool things you can try, and action learning, that's the time to do it. So, yep.
Totally agree. Asma?
Yeah, so I hate to sound like a broken record, but yes, mindset is so important. I think the only way for you to go into this and get success out of it is to have an open mindset, leverage other people's strengths and also resources that are available to you in order for you to successfully deliver what is being tasked to you. Because for me, and after working for I guess now 8 years half of the job is really people, and people has always been like a big thing that you need to tackle. So this is also where you get to experience working with people, like, you know, key stakeholders. So yeah, so those are the things that I think are my key takeaways.
Thank you guys for sharing. I think those are great insights, and I agree with all of you. I would like to resonate what Sangeeta was saying earlier. Actual learning is also time for you to reflect, to actually think of what you're doing, to think about what you like, to go into different industries, to go into different roles. It's a one lifetime opportunity. So it was a great thing for every one of us. And we still have 2 more questions in this panel. And so far we have been sharing a lot of action learning projects, the practicum, and also the summer associate program, or SAP, that's how we call it. However, I would like to ask this to Norris to share on his thoughts about the importance on having an industry track as well. Sangeeta explained a bit of it, but I would like you to elaborate more on that from your side, please.
Oh yeah, the industry track. It was very exciting. We got to travel to Dubai and Abu Dhabi. I think industry tracks are an opportunity for you to build on soft skills, which you'll capitalize on for the rest of your career, whether you're going to be an entrepreneur or you're going to go back in industry. So one of the key takeaways was that it was very well organized. We got to meet with so many companies, and we learned about different industries, and you're learning from people who are actually working. They were there to speak about their companies and to let you know what's actually going on, as they would say in the streets, what's actually going on. And it was a great time to get insights, but it's also a great time to ask questions. It's a great time to network. It's a great time to figure out and to get feedback. You maybe you get a glimpse of what you want to do in action learning, then you get another perspective from someone who's working. And that requires you to actually go out, to polish yourself up, to get to people, to ask questions, to give out your business card, to explore new regions. So I would say that's one of the biggest takeaways from there was from going into those industry tracks was get out of your own skin. You're in a little MBA program. It's a great bubble, but industry tracks are that great catalyst to just put you back in and to get an ear of what's actually going on in industry. And that actually requires you to do the networking and the follow-up and to participate. So yeah, that was my that was my experience of the industry track.
Thank you, Norris. And for example, I just want to add up to that. I was coming from a manufacturing experience, right? And we're not giving cards when you're working in a manufacturing plant. You're just like working there and making things happen. But stand up and say, hey, this is Leticia, this is my background, this is what I want to do. Why don't we have some chat and like speak further about this topic? So it requires some sort of bravery that sometimes you're not used to it. And again, this is an opportunity for you to practice those things that if you become an entrepreneur, if you become into management consulting or whatever you become later, are very helpful. So I totally agree with what you said, Norris. And we have one final question for you 3. And we have spoken about challenges, we have spoken about learnings and all of these things that are great. But I want you to tell the audience like 2 or 3 things that you enjoyed the most when navigating these uncertain waters. Why don't we start with you, Asma?
2 or 3 things. I'll do 2. One is the network that I've built across the working professionals and also the full-time people. Second is the I think the MIT experience that also supplements the entire MBA experience that I had. So I think those are the 2 super valuable things for me.
Great. Eric?
Yeah, I think, as the program as a whole and also for the action learning projects, I think one thing that's really awesome about ASB is the community, right? I mean, it's a pretty small school, and we've got people from all over the world. Even in my full-time program, there were only 2 other Americans, and we didn't get to talk that much. I actually got to know people from, different countries. I mean, Norris was my roommate. He's from South Africa, right? And so, you really do get a great sense of community out of ASB. And I think that translates into a lot of the action learning experiences, right? Because it's usually a 4-person team. There's a lot of teamwork at ASB for most of your classes, right? So you really get this chance to get to know each other and have, authentic relationships with everyone on campus. And I think that that's a really valuable thing. And I know, like, anyone who I've done this MBA with for the past year, if I needed help finding a job, or years down the line something happens, I need some help or whatever, I know I can just pick up a phone and they would always answer, right? So I think that is something that is really amazing about the program that I'm sure I'm gonna enjoy for the rest of my life, right? So, yep.
Thank you, Eric. Norris?
Yeah, I think Eric said it best. The best thing was community. We built, I think we formed a lot of great bonds with people from all over the world, and I really thoroughly enjoyed that. Another thing that I think I'll just add without just going on about that, but one thing that was great for me was I learned a lot about different cultures and perspectives. When you come in, you think you know about certain people, and what you know is maybe from what you've seen maybe on TV or whatnot. It's very different when you speak to people who come from that actual cultural context. So it's given me a very, I'd say, empathetic and maybe even a worldview of, just getting to know people in a deeper level, a desire to get to know people in a deeper level. And to some extent, this is something that I got from ASB because of just our diversity. So that was something that I really enjoyed, and an experience that I take with me, going forward into my career.
Thank you, guys. I also believe that we have a very strong community in that sense. If you join ASB, you'll do like a lot of things. Norris just was black belt, so kudos in that, friend. And you'll have opportunity to network or to like hang out or do a lot of stuff, but action learning will make you struggle with those people that in a way you're starting to love, and that will challenge you in a lot of ways. So it just hurt, right? And it's going to be a very important piece of your experience if you decide to join. And well, that was a great panel. I think we're almost on time. Thank you again for sharing all this knowledge with all these people. And we will go into some very fast Q&A. So I don't know, Sangeeta, how are we gonna like deal into this?
Okay, Stephanie is back on. Thanks, Natisha.
Stephanie, yeah, sure.
Yeah, and then also like Eric and Norris and Asma, thank you so much. I mean, it's really, fruitful discussions. We really enjoyed it. And so right now we just have about 10-15 minutes left. And I would like to quickly introduce David Yao, who is our, admissions team colleague. And at the same time, he's also our alumnus. So what he's going to do is going to facilitate some questions, because I think we have some really good questions direct to the panel. So I think we will focus on answering this question first. For those factual one that I can answer, either we will have time and I'll answer it, and otherwise we will send you the email as well. So David, can you jump in and then just facilitate the question? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Stephanie. And thank you so much, everyone, for sharing your experience today. So very first question is about AL from Maruf, is that how do you quantify the success or impact that you have made to a host organizations during your AL projects and also during the summer associate? How do you define success? Anyone who'd like to take it? Eric?
Yeah, sure. I can take this one. So basically, it's case by case, right? Usually, the first step of any AL project or your summer associate program is to align with the host on, what is the scope of the project, what is the deliverable, what are we going to do, and so once you've sort of set out, the goalpost, you've got to score a goal, right? So that's basically how it works. So yeah, it's case by case, and that's why stakeholder management is so important, is because they need to know exactly what you're doing and what the deliverable is going to be and what their expectations can be for the amount of time that you have, right? So that's an important part of the project, and it's an important test of your communication skills and your ability to manage your stakeholders, right?
Thank you. And I think Asma also, I think you mentioned as well, day in, day out, you're dealing with consulting projects, which is pretty much similar to AL projects as well, right? So maybe can you share a little bit more from your perspective? How do you define success in terms of an AL project or a consulting project?
Sure. So typically how you would do that is like set a list of deliverables that you would have to deliver to the client or the host project that you're working with. And then as you go along the project, you would have check-ins, multiple check-ins for you to review the work that you've done and to also to get buy-in or from your stakeholders. That's how you would somewhat measure success if you're able to deliver what you've promised, and also everyone is happy generally with the product that you've done. Yeah.
All right, thank you. So I'm very mindful of the time, so I'm going to go with go for a second questions. So what aspect of the program did you find the most valuable in terms of practical applications in the business world? Maybe through your action learning project, anything that you find surprisingly practical? Norris?
Okay, I can take that question. I would say the mental models of problem solving are very, very applicable. This is something that I've used with helping podcasts, portfolio companies and VCs just go through mental models on how they want to work through their funding strategy, how they want to work through hiring strategies. So there's different mental models that we've learned and we pick up, and we kind of learn through the action learning projects. And those, I feel that you can apply to almost every, those approaches you can apply to any industry.
Thank you. How about Letitia, would you like to share anything from, or you have any perspective on that?
So I agree with these frameworks. You're not used to think in such organized way sometimes. And these frameworks actually help you to go into different problems, disregard the industry. So pay attention to your teachers whenever they're showing you the frameworks and learn how to apply them. That's what I would say.
Thank you. Framework. That's the thing. Yeah, so another question is that I think you guys talking about like taking charge of your experience at ASB, right? So I think another question is from Mel or Lionel, that what advice can you share as far as maybe networking or choosing an industry that's different or a project that's different from your current background in forming your experience at ASB, and or how does that help you in terms of pivoting your career?
I could start. I think one advice that I'd give you, personal ownership is one thing. You have to take ownership of, when you find that curiosity and you say, I want to make that pivot. The second thing is you have to be obsessed with finding out each and everything about that industry, because that knowledge set that you build up, and those gives you, like I'd say, inventory of questions that you'd ask when you go and actually do the networking in that industry. There's nothing like being in a formal event or maybe like a career track or a place where there's people in an industry that you want to work in, and you're not asking the right questions. And you get the right questions by doing research, by finding out. So it's really immersing yourself in the subject matter, knowing what the words are, knowing how they talk. And then after that, it makes it so much more easier when you're networking and then getting that feedback and talking to people in that industry.
I would like to add into that you can use LinkedIn. LinkedIn is such a powerful tool to get and to know people. I remember one of our mentors told me when I just got in and it was COVID, like, look, all the people from Mexico, go and ask them to connect on LinkedIn. Go and tell them that you want to discuss whatever on Malaysia. So use LinkedIn and you will learn from these coffee chats. People are very open to do so. And it's part of the homework.
I wanted to add a little bit too. Sorry. I completely agree. I also think that Norris brought up a really good point with like immersing yourself in an industry or in an environment, right? Because I think if you're thinking of making a pivot and you haven't actually experienced that industry before, you're kind of like fantasizing, right? Like there's a lot of, imagining what it's like. And then there's the reality of what it actually is like, right? So I think that the action learning and the MBA, it's a great chance to actually try, out a different industry and to get a better understanding of what a career would look like if you're making a really big pivot, right? So yeah, just wanted to say that.
Sorry, Asma, how about you? Do you have anything to add? And
Sure. Just a quick one. I think make known to people what your interests are, and then leverage career development office for their network as well. They might know people in the industry that you're interested in, so they can like link you up with the right people to speak to as well.
thank you. I'll maybe bring up some questions that maybe have not really relevant to AL. Maybe Stephanie can help out with this. From JY, what type of criteria does ASB use to select future students, and which industry background or experience does ASB prefer?
Okay. So I would say that, of course, we have our own criteria, but first things I want to answer one of the question earlier. We don't have any specific preference of the industry or profession that you have, because we believe that the class has to be as diverse as possible, because we are not a particular school that we want certain industry. And then, we're not economic schools, we are not marketing schools. So there's this diverse experience. To look into the qualification of the students, of course, you have to show very strong academic qualification and your professional experience. And very often we really look at your leadership impact and also your presence, because at the end of the day, when you go through the program, so we want you to have to build your personal presence where you can present yourself in the future to the organizations or to the corporate world. And last but not least, is very important, it's also your commitment. Very often, sometimes students think that joining the program, they just want to get in and then easy to get out, get an MBA degree on the CV, and then they go. But you've already heard from our alum and students. I mean, it's a lot of work and commitment. You need to come to class and you need to, fulfill all the assessments. So that's something that we look at. There's no strict formulas. I mean, every time if you are interested, we always tell the prospective students, always talk to us. Let us understand your background, your interests, and also your future career goals. We really want to know, to find the right match. Not only that you're good and you can, afford the tuition, it's all about whether you are the one who has the commitment, who is willing to collaborate. And then happy to share with you, in the past, we did reject a couple of candidates. They are very strong candidates, but they have no intention to collaborate with any other students because they think they are already too good. And this is also not someone that we would like to be in the class. So that's something I would say is all rounded. Yeah.
On that note, I think we'd like to ask the questions to the alumni or current students. So how do you have defined the success for a project, but how do you define success as a graduate? And then how do you feel like the ASB program help you in attaining the success or the goals that you have set for yourself? Yeah, whoever would like to take this questions. Eric.
Yeah, I think there's a couple steps to that, and I think it's probably, you know, the actual success is different for everyone. But I think one important thing is just figuring out what you want to do, right? I think that MBA is a great time to do that. I know I spent like at least the first semester just doing that, you know, as a big side project. Was, you know, what am I interested in? You know, who am I? All the existential questions. You have time to think about that and answer it, and start to look at, you know, a career that you want to do for the rest of your life, right? So figuring that out, I think, is step one. And then, you know, step two is when you get towards the end of the MBA, it's actually making progress towards that goal, right? So, you know, it's not always a one step, you know, solution. I think there's a lot of MBA graduates who maybe have to think about, you know, two or three steps as far as jobs and that's going to get them to where they want to go, especially if you're making a big pivot. So I think, you know, making that progress towards having a goal and then making progress towards that goal, that's sort of how you define success, right? And I think it's different for everyone. It depends on how big of a jump you're going to make, and, you know, sort of what steps you're going to need to take to get to that final goal. So, yep.
All right, thank you. I think so for EMBA, I think Stephanie, maybe you can answer this. Is the industry track compulsory for the students?
To answer this question, no, it's industry track is optional. As Sanginta also mentioned, it's only in the beginning of the program when students, they just receive like first 2 months of education. They haven't had a lot to do yet. I mean, education received. So that's why they would have to go there and observe, to analyze, to understand. So they don't touch things and work on the projects. But with some students, they have already got like, you know, a lot of exposure, international experience, and they prefer not to join this optional industry track. They don't have to. Yeah.
Okay. Last questions. I'm mindful of the time. We're coming to the very end of the sessions. For everyone, if you still have any questions that you wanted to ask, please feel free to email us, and then we will reach out to you and answer your questions. Very last question from Stephanie. How did each panelist decided to go into industry versus continue study? Because we have these extra miles or be able to pursue another degree at MIT. We'd love to hear more about your motivations and how ASB is able to help you with your next step. I think, Eric, you're also in a position to answer this. And maybe Norris, you can chip in to wrap up the sessions today.
Yeah, so for me, I really enjoyed the MBA program. I really enjoyed studying more than I even did as an undergrad, and I thought it was amazing. So I realized that I wanted to continue my education about halfway through the program, and I applied to different schools, and I got into other schools besides the MSMS program too. That's not the only option out there, and I think, you know, one advantage of ASB is that you're going to be, you know, learning from some of the best faculty in the world, right? And if you have a good relationship with them, then they can give you a letter of recommendation to whatever program you apply to, and that'll be really strong, and you can, you know, enjoy that. But yeah, so for me, I basically was interested in studying more, and I also thought it was going to be the best next step for my career, right? Because I'm making a really big pivot. I was like, you know, corporate guy for most of my career, and, you know, traveling, doing business development, that sort of thing. But I want to get into entrepreneurship, right? And so I joined a program that is very focused on that. So the MSMS, you can basically choose your focus, but it's sort of a deep dive into whatever you got interested in during the MBA or in life, right? So a good way to imagine it is like the MBA is a really broad degree and you'll get a really broad skill set. But if during the course of that, you get really excited about a particular field and you want to learn more about that, then that might be an indication that you should consider going back to school and learning about that specific field, right? So yeah, that's how it works for me. And yeah, I think maybe other people have reasons for why they decided to go right back into industry. And Norris?
Yeah, maybe I could add. I think for me it was the learning by doing. One of the biggest reasons I went back to industry is I always felt that you learn a lot more when you immerse yourself in it. But the nice thing about the ASB experience is that this is one thing that always stayed with me, is that you're a lifelong learner. It's not that after you're done with your MBA, you stop learning and you stop being a part of the community. So that's one thing that I love about the actual culture of the school. So if I learned something, I would always, go reach out to faculty. Hey, this is what I want to do. I want to get into venture capital, etc., A, B, C, D. And they would always refer me to someone. And then eventually, I'd maybe pursue that. And then when I find a problem or something I need a deep dive about, I come back to faculty and say, hey, this is something that, and they encourage you, maybe take it as an independent project, maybe look at this or look at that, or this is my colleague who you should speak to is an expert on it. So it creates this kind of relationship between going in industry and then after that marrying it with your academic experience. And that for me was I think that's a big thing for me, that going into industry, I know I have this backing that I might not have the answers right now as I'm doing, but I know I'm like 2 phone calls away to at least getting closer to the answer. And I have this infrastructure and I'm part of this community that can, help me maybe figure out what the next steps in industry are.
All right, thank you. Stephanie, I think we can end the Q&A sessions. Would you like to have a last word?
Yes. First of all, thank you very much, Sangeeta, Eric, and Natisha, and also Loris and Asma. Thank you very much for spending this 90 minutes with us. It's really valuable and also fruitful. And also thank you for the participants to join us and stay with us till the end. And I understand we have lots of questions. We already kept screen all the questions. For those of these questions, when we send you follow-up email, we will answer them as well. So please do stay in touch with us, and then we can continue the chat later. All right. Thank you very much. Have a good day and have a good night, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Everyone,
Thank you.
take care.
Everyone, take care.
Thank you. Good night, everyone.
Thank you.
Take care, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.